Hello YouTube, it's Vdeogamer, and this is the How to Draw Video Game Characters tutorial, and today I'm going to be drawing Kirby and Metaknight, both in the same drawing. Let's get right to your supplies list. First you're going to need a pencil with an eraser, and then you're going to need some sort of paper to draw on. I use sketchbook paper, but any type of paper will work. Then you're going to need some Sharpie markers. I have a fine point Sharpie marker and a normal Sharpie marker, but you can just use the regular Sharpie. And then you're also going to need colored pencils if you wish to color your drawing. So, without further ado, let the drawing begin. So to start off Kirby, what you first want to do is you want to draw the basis of the body, which is just a very round circle. Not anything specific yet, and make sure you're using light sketch lines, that way you can erase whatever you want later. Next up is the eyes, which are just simple ovals. And remember, just use light sketch lines in the beginning, that way you can erase if you make a mistake, and it won't leave too dark a mark on your paper. The mouth is just a little tiny spot, and then add some determined eyebrows and his rosy cheeks. You've basically got the facial features of Kirby. Next up is his little stubs for arms, and these don't have too much detail. And I chose to have one above his head as if he's holding a sword, and then one touching the ground. Next up is Kirby's feet, which are very large in proportion to everything else on his body. Just add those in like so. Then once you've gotten the basis of Kirby done, you can begin working on the details, such as the eyes. Just add in 2 lines inside the little ovals, and you've got the eyes done. Next up is Kirby's hat, which represents Sword Kirby, in a way. I started off with the band of the hat, just like that, and then from there, I drew up to create the actual hat. And on the tip of the hat, you have a small ball, kind of like a Santa hat, except it's green and yellow instead of red and white. Now that you've gotten all of the basis lines done, you can begin outlining Kirby's true form and erasing all your unnecessary sketch lines. On the band that makes the hat, I added in a little crease line as if it's folded against his head, which it is. Next up on Kirby is to create the sword that he holds against Metaknight. Now, to start off the sword, you just want to draw the handle behind his arm. And then on the other side of that, you want to add in a disc shape and kind of make that a little bit dimensional as you work around, just by adding an edge to it. And then from right in the center of the disc is the beginnings of the actual sword itself. And it just kind of goes up like such. Whenever you're drawing characters like this, you might want to make sure that you have a source drawing, which is just a regular picture of the character. I just went to Google Images and got a picture of Sword Kirby just so I could look off of it and make sure I'm staying in proportion with the overall character, and so that I knew what colors I was going to use for each part of Kirby. Once you've gotten the generals of the sword done, you want to make sure you erase all your unnecessary sketch lines and darken out the final form of it. Whenever you're darkening the outline of the sword, do not darken in the center line very much, because that'll be erased and colored in later. Finish up your outline on Kirby's overall form with your pencil. And then just below Kirby, add a slight shadow with your pencil, like such. The next thing you want to do is take your very fine point Sharpie and outline all of Kirby just to give it a more defined line. You want to make sure you do this carefully because there's no erasing Sharpie. So be very careful whenever you're putting on the final outline for Kirby. Whenever you're putting on the final outline everything except the rosy cheeks and the center line for the sword. Also, do not color in the shadow just yet. Once you've gotten the line done, take your thicker Sharpie and go inside Kirby's eye, where the black portion is, and just color that in right now. Coloring Kirby, you want to make sure that you go for the lightest shades first, because he's got a lot of shading on him. And for the rosy cheeks, just erase them and color them in with whatever color you choose. Just make sure they're darker than Kirby's actual skin. And then go along the entire basis of Kirby, just adding in the lightest shades of the color that they have. Like for the hat, you just want to do a light green at first. And then later we're going to add on some darker colors to make it seem more depthy. Once you've gotten on all your light shades, next up you're going to have to pick a darker shade of that color and just color in to wherever you want the shadow to be going. I chose to have my light source to the top right, and that means all these shadows are going to be down and left on Kirby's body and everything else on Kirby. And the reason we do shadows and such is to give it some more dimension and make it seem more realistic. On the sword itself, the left portion of the sword is going to be colored orange and has a few different details on it than just anything else. And depending on your source picture, you'll be able to see what I mean. And there is your finished drawing of Kirby.